Right, now we are continuing section 7.3, double angle and half angle formulas. Now we have another example here, example 10. Use a half angle identity to find the exact value of sine of negative pi over 12. First of all, negative pi over 12, let me convert this to degrees. Negative pi over 12 times 180 over pi equals negative 15, right? 15 degrees. And 15 is half of the 30, right? 30 degrees. And we know what sine of 30 is, or cosine of 30 is. So 30 is a special triangle anyway. So we can use half angle formula. Actually, in the question statement, it says use the half angle identity, but in general, if it may not say, it may just say that find sine of negative pi over 12. In such a case, you need to figure out that you are supposed to use this half angle identity. Okay, anyway, so I am taking this part as a over 2, okay? And what was the formula for sine of a over 2? Sine of a over 2 is equal to plus or minus root. So let me remind you the formula from the previous page. It is 1 minus cosine a over 2, right? Okay. So 1 minus cosine a over 2. And our a is what? So this is a over 2. Ah, sorry, this is a over 2, yes. So a over 2 is negative 15. So a is actually equal to a over 2 is negative 15 degrees. So a is equal to negative 30 degrees, right? So plus or minus root 1 minus cosine of negative 30 divided by 2. And remember, cosine eats the negative sign, right? So this is actually equal to plus or minus 1 minus cosine 30. So cosine is eating minus, remember? And cosine 30 is, what's cosine 30? Remember that triangle, spatial triangle, 30, 60, 90, 1, 2, root 3. Cosine 30 is 1/2, right? Sorry. Cosine 30 is adjacent over hypotenuse root 3 over 2. So plus or minus 1 minus root 3 over 2 over 2. Okay. So what's that equal to? If I have the common denominator here, plus or minus, I should multiply 2 over 2 here, right? Root 2 minus root 3 over 2 over 2. And if I flip the bottom part, I will get plus or minus 2 minus root 3 over 4. Okay. So sine of negative 15 is plus or minus 2 minus root 2 minus root 3 over 4. But which one? Is it plus or minus? Okay, which one? You have to decide that, right? And to decide that, what is the quadrant of negative 15? Negative 15 is in the fourth quadrant, and sine is negative in the fourth quadrant, right? That's why sine of negative 15 is, I'm going to pick the negative part, right? Negative 2 minus root 3 over 4. Okay. I hope it is clear for everyone. If it was a quadrant where the sign is positive, then I need to pick the positive value. But in this case, it is just negative, so I have to pick negative value. Okay. All right. So let's continue. What is the half angle identity or half angle formula for tangent? It is tangent of a over 2 is equal to plus or minus plus or minus 1 minus cosine A over 1 plus cosine A, or sine A over 1 plus cosine A, or 1 minus cosine A over sine A, okay? And this is the easy one to use in the most cases. But you can use either of it. That doesn't really matter. Okay. Okay, let's look at this example. Use a half angle identity to find the exact value of tangent 9 pi over 8. So a over 2 is equal to 9 pi over 8. So what is a here? If I multiply both sides with 2, 9 pi over 8 times 2, which is, if I can simplify that, 9 pi over 4, okay? So tangent 9 pi over 8 is equal to 1 minus cosine 9 pi over 4 divided by sine 9 pi over 4. Okay, so we need to know what cosine 9 pi over 4 and sine 9 pi over 4 is. Let's find the reference angle for 9 pi over 4. So reference angle. So this is a bigger angle, right? So let me subtract 2 pi. And if I have the common denominator, it will be 9 pi minus 8 pi, right? 9 pi minus 8 pi over 4. This is just pi over 4, okay? So the reference angle is pi over 4, so I can use that angle. 1 minus cosine pi over 4 over sine pi over 4, okay? And what is pi over 4? If you convert it to the degrees, it is 45, right? So, and remember the 45, 90, 1, 1. So it's 45, 1, root 2, right? That's why cosine is 1 over root 2 and sine is again 1 over root 2. So 1 minus 1 over root 2 over 1 over root 2. So if I have the common denominator, root 2 minus 1 over root 2 over 1 over root 2. And I can simplify those guys. It is root 2 minus 1. Okay? So tangent 9 pi over 8 is root 2 minus 1. All right. I hope it's clear for everyone. And in this example, okay, what are we gonna do? It's asking the cotangent, right? And there is no half angle formula for cotangent, but if you find the tangent of 13 pi over 8, you can just flip it, right, to get the cotangent. So they are reciprocal to each other. That's why it is just enough to find what tangent. Find tangent of 13 pi over 8, okay? And again, this is a over 2. A over 2 is 13 pi over 8. That's why a is equal to 13 pi over 4. So tangent 13 pi over 8 is equal to, what was the formula? 1 minus cosine A over sine A, right? 1 minus cosine of 13 pi over 4 over sine of 13 pi over 4. Okay. Now, okay, what is the reference angle of this angle? 13 pi over 4 minus 2 pi. If I have the common denominator, it will be 8 pi, right? 13 pi minus 8 pi will be 5 pi over 4. Okay. So 1 minus cosine 5 pi over 4 over sine 5 pi over 4. And here, okay, what is cosine of 5 pi over 4? Sine of 5 pi over 4. This is a special triangle actually, but it's in third quadrant, right? And pi over, okay, this part is pi, this pi over 4. So pi over 4 is 45. This is 1 root 2. But again, be careful with the sign, right? If, okay, this is negative x-axis, this is negative y-axis, so this is negative 1, negative 1. So cosine of 5 pi over 4 is negative 1 over root 2. So 1 minus 1 over root 2 over, and sine is again negative 1 over root 2. So it will be 1 plus 1 over root 2 over negative 1 over root 2. Have the common denominator here, root 2 over plus 1 over root 2 over negative 1 over root 2. And I can simplify those root 2's, and there's only negative 1 here, so it is negative root 2 plus 1. Oh, okay, this is not the answer, right? What is the answer here? Okay, what is the answer? This is tangent, right? I have to flip tangent to get the cotangent. So cotangent 13 pi over 8 is equal to 1 over negative root 2 plus 1. All right. So this is how you deal with the cotangents. You just need to find a tangent and flip it, okay? So I have 2 more examples in the, and I'm gonna work on those examples in the next video. All right? So see you in the next video then.